Every day, whether it's on YouTube or on websites, in the news, there is an article or a video about how DC Comics is ruining everything, how they don't know what to do with their cinematic universe, and how they have to reboot or they don't need to reboot. Oh well. Where do we start? This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling you in since 2002. Like and subscribe. The thing that you have to remember when you look at DC Comics overall, and this is my thesis, is that rebooting, restarting from scratch, changing and not being certain about what they've got right now is part of DC Comics core. This is the culture at DC, whether it's in comics, games, film, cartoons. The essence of DC Comic is about rebooting every couple of years. It's about the internal wrangling of the company, unsure about what to do with all the property, the rich property it has, the wonderful character that it has fostered and created over decades, and then just throwing everything out of the window and starting from scratch. This happened in the comics, this has happened on TV, in cartoons, and now it's happening on film. So there's nothing particular, there's nothing new when you look at DC. So DC scrapping the Snyderverse is nothing new. DC did the same thing even before Crisis on Infinite Earth, when it rebooted all its characters in the 1950s and the 1960s after the first Golden Age generation had passed. DC could have just continued with the old Flash, continued with the old Green Lantern, but no, they changed everything and they kind of rebooted Superman, half reboot, full reboot. Same thing for Wonder Woman, same thing for Batman. Even Aquaman never really had an official reboot. And then suddenly they were thrown in this new world which was called Earth 1 and the previous generation was called Earth 2. This is what DC did in the 1950s, and then it strengthened in the 1960s. In 1984-85, DC did the exact same thing again when, because of a couple of characters appearing on both Earth 1 and Earth 2, it decided that it needed to reboot everything about its comics to make sure everything was clean and understandable for a new generation of comic book readers. That gave us Crisis in Infinite Earth. Following the Crisis in Infinite Earth, DC Comics had a series, like so many reboots, half reboots, full reboot of their universe, until now we're in the film generation and they have to reboot everything again. But even before that, even the cartoon themselves, the DC animated cartoon universe was rebooted several times in order to give us other versions of the Justice League, the characters, Batman and so on, Superman. In the narrative itself, there was even a Justice League cartoon where they fought Darkseid and he destroyed everything, and then that gave way to another reboot. There was Flashpoint, which was also a reboot in both the comics and the cartoons. So DC not understanding what to do with its cinematic universe is extremely normal for the company. It's weird that it goes all the way to Warner and Discovery now, but this is the essence of DC Comics, which is not the essence of Marvel, which is about continuing whatever you've got even though it might be broken, but you don't reboot it. You might do a side reboot and call it the multiverse, like the Ultimate and so on, but you're not going to destroy the main core universe. You're still going to keep trucking. This is not what is happening with DC Comics, but there's effects on even actors like Gal Gadot and Henry Cavill. They get the shaft, they get kicked out in order for a new generation of actors to be part of that new DC universe. At the same time, DC does not know what it's doing with the Robert Pattinson Batman, the Snyderverse Batman with Ben Affleck. This is DC Comics, so don't even try to make sense of it. With James Gunn and Peter Safran, nothing will change. In a couple of years, DC will still not be happy with the results and think that it has to throw everything out the window and start from scratch again, or do a half start, a half reboot, which is what they're doing right now by keeping the Suicide Squad, not knowing what to do with Wonder Woman and so on. This is so DC Comics. If you've read DC Comics for years, like I have, if you know that history, everything that you see on the screen right now is exactly what has happened with the company behind the scene in the comic books and even the cartoons. So people not understanding what to do with DC Comics, whether to give them a chance or not, that's DC for you. What did you expect? Seriously, what did you expect from DC? This is in DC's DNA to reboot everything every couple of years, start everything from scratch, or start everything, and then everybody gets confused, people get used to something, and then suddenly you change everything. You get the new 52 reboot. You get some other reboot, Infinite Crisis reboot, so and so reboot. How many times has DC done a crisis? They should call this new universe Crisis 1, because this is what it is. It's ridiculous in a sense, but that's the core of the company, and it's not the way Marvel does things. So enjoy DC, enjoy Blue Beetle, not knowing whether Blue Beetle is part of the new DC or not. Enjoy having characters like the Suicide Squad characters coming back, but we don't care about Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot at the same time, or Ben Affleck. Seeing Aquaman kind of being in the old and the new universe at once, and so on. You know what? That's what DC is about. Just learn to enjoy it. This is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling you in since 2002. Like and subscribe.